Hello and welcome to Interactive Music Theory Level 1. My name is Kelvin Cummings and this is lesson 9 out of 14 lessons. In the description down below you'll notice the work booklet that will be relating to all of the work that I'll be talking about here. There's also an extension puzzle booklet which goes with that, and underneath there you will also notice that there is all of the notes that will be clarified today, so in PDF form there, as well as any other useful links that may crop up over time. In today's lesson we're going to learn about scales and the importance that they place within music. We're going to have a look at the C major scale in particular. That's going to be the kind of introduction into that. We're going to learn about semitones and tones and the pattern that they create within major scales. We're going to identify and recognize semitone and tone pattern within that scale. We're going to consolidate our knowledge, bring together our knowledge of what dotted notes are. And then we're going to have a look at legatos and staccatos. So in this lesson we're going to be looking at page 17, 18, 35 and 43. So we're looking at the tones, scales. There's going to be a little bit of a game. It's not really a game, it's just a quick wee recap on those ones there with flashcards. We're going to look at the C major scale, listen to some scales, have a look at those notes, check out legato and staccato just before you do your extension puzzle there at the end. So, quick revision. Semitone, or a half step, is the smallest distance possible between notes. So that G to that G sharp, that A to that B flat, that B to that C. So it's the smallest distance possible. A tone is a whole step, which is made up of two semitones, so being able to go from C to that C sharp to the D. So that would be a tone. Just as long as you've got a note, just one note in between, you should be pretty well fine there. So let's mark out a couple of these semitones. So let's go, for example, this one here. So let's go to E to F. So that there is a semitone. Semitone, ST. Let's go that A to that B. It goes from there to there and there to there, so that would be an example of a tone. Okay, so just making you aware that semitones are right beside each other, tones have got one in between. Right, now scale. All of this work here is relating to stuff on page 17. Now a scale pattern is, a scale is a pattern of notes which ascends, like it goes up, or descends, goes down, step by step, to the same note but an octave higher or an octave lower. Now in this case here we've gone from a middle C to a D to an E, F, G, A, B and C, which will sound like this. Okay, and if like the tune that I always remember when I was really young was one from Sound of Music, Do, a Deer, a Female Deer. All of that relates to these scales here, okay? So each type of scale, a major or minor scale, has a pattern of tones and semitones, which is always the same. So C to a D is always a tone, D to an E is a tone. We've got the semitone here, between that E and that F. We've got a tone between that F and that G. We've got a tone between that G and that A. We've got a tone between that A and that B, a semitone between that B and that C. So in a major scale, the pattern is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And you'll notice here, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, and will always be the same, okay? For example here, this one's starting off on a G note, so we're going to have, where this one here was in the C major scale, which sounded like this. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. In this particular case here, we're going to G. Same pattern, tone gets you to A, tone gets you to B, semitone gets you to C, tone gets you to the D, tone gets you to the E, tone gets you to the F sharp this time around, so we need an F sharp within a G major scale, and then that F sharp to that G becomes that semitone, which means that another way to be able to remember the semitones is between that third and that fourth one, they're right beside each other, that's the semitone, and between the 7th and the 8th note within the scale is a semitone. So, for example here, let's have a quick look. We had tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Now we'll do that G one here. So here's my G, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So all together. Tone, 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 semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Reminder, you got the 2 black keys here, 3 black keys, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So it follows that pattern all the way through, and that's the notes there on page 17. Let's reinforce that though. So write a tone for the tones and an S for the semitones underneath each of the notes within the scale, and then we're going to identify which one of these is not a major scale, because one of these isn't. So that G to that A, that is a tone. There is a key in between. That A to that B is a tone. That B to that C is a semitone. We've got that that C to that D is a tone. We've got a C sharp or a D flat in between those two. We've got a D to an E is a tone. E to F sharp is a tone. And F sharp to G there is a semitone. Alright, so tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. That one there should work. Let's have a look at this one. E to F, semitone. Well, we've got alarm bells here already. So F to a G, that's a tone, because there's an F sharp in between. We've got a G to an A, that's a tone. So there's a note in between those two there. We've got an A to a B, there is a black key in between those two there. We've got a B to a C, those ones are right beside each other, so that's a semitone. We've got that C to that C to that D sharp, so that's actually, well, we've got 1, 2, so it's, I'm going to write it up as 3 semitones, because it's a bit further up than what a regular tone would be. And that's D sharp to that E is going to be a semitone there. Alright, so I've already got a hunch that this one here is not going to cut it. Okay, it is way too, well, like it's not following the pattern that we need. So F to that G, tone, G to that A, tone, A to the B flat. Now remember, A, B flat and A sharp are exactly the same thing, so that's a semitone. They're right beside each other. Okay, B flat to C is a tone, and just to remind you of that one there, here's my B flat. Go to the B is a semitone, but B flat to that one there is a tone because we've got the B in between. We've got that D to that E this time round. There's a black key in between those, and that E to that F is a semitone. So, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. That one is a major scale. Semitone, tone, 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 semitone. 3 semitones and a semitone there. Nah, not going to cut it. This one here, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Yes, it is. Okay, so this middle one here on page 17 is not an example of a major scale here. So what you'll hear from these ones is, in fact, let's play those again. So that's from G. So that's that top one. Let's have a play of this bottom one here, so you get an essence of how smooth that sounds. So although it starts from a different place, you'll notice that it still has a nice flow-on effect. Right, E, F, G, A, B, C, D sharp, E. Whew, gross. Now you, oh sorry, no, sorry, I played that wrong. Sorry, D sharp. So play that again. So you already know that rather than or that this one, that it almost comes in with a completely different sort of feel. Now that's not to say that it's wrong. It just means that it's not a major scale. It's not one of the most recognizable scales that we have on the planet. All right, and there's different countries in the world which kind of work with that sort of thing there. So let's recognize which ones of these are and are not major scales. So let's have a quick look here. So looking at this one here for a start. Tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, semitone. Is it? Definitely not. It's not a major scale. So let's have a quick look at this one. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. Is that? It's close, but it's not quite. So it should be 2 tones, a semitone, 3 tones, and a semitone. So that one ain't as well. Let's have another look here. See if we've got this one. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Is that? Sure is. Okay, so that's the pattern we're looking for as we're going through. Right, now on page 18, we're going to have a look at the C major scale. So we're going to mark out the semitones within this C major scale with a bracket which looks like that. So there's a tone between these two. There's a tone between these two. There is a semitone between that E and that F because they are right beside each other. We've got a black key between these two here, so that's a tone. We've got a tone between these two here because there's another black key. We've got another tone between these two because it's another black key there, but between that B and that C, there is nothing. B and C, they're right beside each other. Okay, so in regards to the major scale, those parts here would be considered to be your semitone areas here. So I'm going to just mark it out. Semitone, semitone. Okay. Let's have a look at drawing up our own now. So, still on page 18, treble clef, so let's get that started there. It's been a while since we've done one of those bad boys. Remember to start from that second line from the bottom, curve up to that middle line, curve down to the bottom line, just up past the top, and then curving all the way through there. So, starting off with a C, going up to a D, an E, an F, G, whoops, I'm going to take that one back. Notice how with the ones which are on the spaces that they are having the top and the bottom there, and the ones which happen to be on the lines, that there is a bit of a gap above and below. Probably could be a little bit better on that one there. And I'm going to put that last one there. So here goes my C major scale, and I can tell that because in this case here I have a tone from here, a tone between these two, a semitone between these two here, that's that E to that F. There's a tone between that F and that G. There is a tone between that G and that A. There is a tone between that A and that B. We've got the black keys in between each of those, and a semitone between each of those. Okay, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and there's my C note there. Okay. Alright, so that there is an ascending version of this particular scale here. So we're looking about, one's going up. So let's do a C major scale on the bass clef this time. Now I'm going to pop that bass clef in there. Reminder that we are starting off on the second line from the top for this one. Curves up to the top line and goes kind of part way into that space down there, and then we've got those 2 dots following it. Now, as much as on page 18 I had you doing this treble clef here, which is a C major scale from here, what we're doing this time is with our bass clef, we're actually coming down to these notes, which tend to be the left-hand side notes. So let's go back to that clef there. Now, from these notes, we are looking at a C here. Okay, that's going to be our low C. We're going to go up to the space there above. There's a D. Notice how we've got this bit of space below and above that. We've got E, F, G, carrying on one by one, A, B, tidy that one up a wee bit more, B, and Here goes my middle C. Okay, so a reminder of what each of those keys actually are. So we've got a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Alright, now let's confirm, however, the gaps between. So C to a D, there's a tone. There's a tone between that D and that E. There is a semitone between that E and that F. Those two there. There is a tone between the F and that G. There's that F sharp. We've got a tone between G and A, because we've got the G sharp or the A flat. We've got a tone between that A and that B, so that's your B flat or that A sharp. And we've got a semitone between that B and that C. These ones here. Okay. So the pattern remains the same. Tone, tone, semitone. Tone, 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 semitone. And that will be the case for any major scale, which gives it that nice flow-on effect, which should sound like this. Okay, so that's the sort of thing we're listening for on this. So let's test your knowledge. I'm going to give you 3 different tasks or 3 different sets of scales to listen to. And you're going to be figuring out which one of these is not a major scale. So you're listening to see whether there's an irregular sort of sound to this. So rather than it sounding really beautiful like this, you're going to be hearing it kind of slightly askew, so it sounds kind of a little bit weird. So on a blank piece of paper or a space somewhere else, have a quick look at this. Get yourself ready. So number 1 is the one which is not a major scale. Is it A, B or C? And I'll play these twice. So for number 1, sounds alright. B, sounds good too. 1, C. So 1 out of those 3 there is not a major scale. Let's play it one more time. So A, number 1, A. Number 1, B. And number 1, C. Okay, and when you were listening to those there, the correct answer was C this time around. You can hear it. Da, 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 da. Like it's got this kind of almost like Egyptian, well, Middle Eastern kind of tonal structure to it. So that one there is not a major scale. It's not as smooth as that one there, which is just casually moving its way out. So let's have a listen to number 2. 2B, 2C. Okay, now one of those is not a major scale. One of them is slightly askew. So have a listen to it one more time, see if you can guess it. 2A. 2B. 1, 2C. You should have your answer by now. If you marked it incorrectly, your correct answer will be the letter B. Okay, it's not that straight up. It's kind of dipping and diving in a couple of different places. Here we go. Number 3, 3A. 3B. And 3C. I'll play it one more time. I think you may have it by now, but here goes 3A. 3B. And 3C. Correct answer this time here is A. So you've been able to spot that. This one, like you can almost picture like this little snake coming out of like a little bin out of like the movie Aladdin or something. It's got that kind of feel to it, which is quite cool, but it's not a smooth major scale that we're trying to look for in this particular case. So Quick revision of our dotted notes. Now, having a dot to the right hand side of the note or rest increases its value by half of itself. Now, if you are unfamiliar with that, check out the previous lesson here in Interactive Music Theory Level 1. I'll go into a bit of detail about that. I think it's in Lesson 8. Right, but let's go into this one here, and we're going to draw these notes in. So, which one of these is a crotchet? Well, we know that one there is a crotchet, so we've got that one there in place. And that one there is worth 1 beat. Okay, so we're already on our way. Now we're looking for one of these which has a dot to it now. So dotted crotchet, well the crotchet itself doesn't change. Boom. But now we've got a dot just after it. Now the idea of a dot, if you missed the previous lesson, was that we add half of the length of the actual note to itself. So if that one's worth 1, we're going to add half to it, so that means that this is going to be worth 1 1/2. So out of these ones here, we've got a minim is here, boom. That one there is worth 2 beats, that's from one of our earliest lessons that I've been uploading here, and that leaves us with a dotted minim this time around here. So here goes my minim, but it's got a dot just to the right hand side, and that there is, again, the dot adding half of whatever it's worth. So that's worth 2 plus half of that again. So that's now 2 plus 1, which gives us 3. There's our total value of this one. Okay, so the dots add half of its value again. Now, on page 43, we've got legatos. Now, legatos are meaning to have something playing really, really smoothly, so well connected. Most of the notes are generally assumed to be legato. We want them to kind of travel nice and smoothly unless we're instructed otherwise. But sometimes legato is indicated with a slur, which is placed over a phrase between an individual set of notes. Now, for example, we've got an E, D, C, B, and C here. So it's traveling this da, 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 da. Like we've got this lovely kind of flow of notes there. So by having that slur over there, that's an example of a legato. So it's wanting those to be played smoothly. It wants them to be played nicely. Then we've got these ones here, that's C, D, E, F, and it's wanting that G and that A to feel nice and smooth before it plays into that last G. So let's actually play that one. So 1 and 2 and 3. So we're going. Okay, so we got those ones. Oh, and it finishes off on a G. Sorry. Now the opposite to a legato is something which is known as a staccato. Now, like you can kind of hear it within the words here. So staccato has really, really sharp, short, detached parts to it. Now we generally will play this by having a dot above, not beside. So it's not like a dotted note where it adds half of its length. It's not like that. It's a dot just above or just below, depending on where those stems happen to be. Now, if this case here, it means that each time one of these notes here are played, they are played in a really, really short, detached sort of way. So rather than being sounding nice and smooth, like a legato would be, it'll be. So it becomes really, really short, isolated, almost like a machine gun shots of notes. So let's have a look at bringing all this information together. On page 43, we need to, within this piece of music here, add indicators in bar 4 that all the notes here are to be played short and detached. So here's bar 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we need to add that staccato sound there. So because it is with the stems going up, these staccato notes are going to go just underneath. So it means da, 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 da. Whoops, I'm going to bring them a little bit further underneath. That's more like it. Boom, boom, boom. So each of those notes there are just going to be played nice and short and detached. What does the word above bar 1 mean? Allegro? Well, you may have to check back to your Italian terms here. That one there is talking about the tempo of the music in this particular case here, which allegro means lively and fast. So we're going to be playing this one relatively quickly. What does the word below bar 7 mean? Well, let's have a look for bar 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. retardando, that means that we are going to be gradually slowing it down. At this point here, so this fast and lively tune all the way through here is now just going to kind of slow down a little bit. Not super fast, but it's going to slow down a bit. So what does the words a tempo in bar 9 mean? Here's bar 9, that one there. We were slowing it down in bar 7, so that a tempo means that we come back to its original speed, which in this case here is allegro, that lively and fast sort of tempo. So, notes in bar 5 are said to be on what sort of lines? So let's have a look at bar 5. Ha! There we go. Each of these, we're talking about the lines underneath the stave, those are called ledger lines, which means that they are slightly lower than what we had there before. What is the symbol below the note in bar 8? What is the symbol below bar 8? That one there. And what does it mean? Well, in this case, whoops. It's that F forte, which means loud. So up to this point here, we're playing mezzo piano, so moderately soft. When we got there's a decrescendo or diminuendo symbol, which is making us go down to a soft sound. Slightly crescendo starting to come in here as we're playing it slower, but then boom, 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 those accented notes, and that one there means that that G note happens to be played quite strong. Alright, it's almost there. Should the notes in bar 14 be played legato or staccato? Well, are we wanting them to be played nice and smooth, legato, or are we wanting them to be played short and detached like a staccato would? Bar 14, here they are, well they're slurred, not dotted, staccato, and in this particular case here I would say legato. They're wanting us to play this like a nice smooth melody. In bar 15, how many notes should be played staccato and how many should be played legato? 1, 2, legato, 2, staccato, 3, 4, legato, 3, 4, staccato. So should be, in this case, 4 of each. Alright, and those are your answers there. All the information from this particular piece of music, not just telling us the notes to play and how long to play them, but it's giving us a lot of other clues about how loud to play them, how soft to play them, how fast to play them, and how slow to play them. Okay, so there's a lot of clues given to us in this. So to finish up on this lesson here, this one here is just a basic sort of word search, having a look at a variety of different instruments, many of which you will find are available within the instruments of the orchestra. So a nice easy way to be able to finish off there. Now if you're unsure of where to be able to find this here, you'll notice that this is, as well as the work booklets which are available down below, we've also got the extension puzzle available in the description below there as well. A reminder that all of the notes from today's lesson are in the description, as well as any other useful links there as well. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode of Interactive Music Theory Level 1. My name is Kelvin Cummings and I look forward to catching up with you next time. Bye.